All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I am with Naeem Vendreas, a remote viewer who's done some incredible work. And I'm very excited to do this today, Naeem. Thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be a stellar podcast because I am so curious in the world of remote viewing. Now, let's just start with this. First of all, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Naeem, how does someone get started in this? Does it take a special psychic ability? Can anybody do this?
Yeah, generally speaking, anyone can do remote viewing. It's everyone has some innate intuition ability, and really remote viewing is just harnessing that, learning certain skills and following certain steps to focus that and amplify it. So it everyone already has the base ability of doing remote viewing. The idea of a remote viewer is just someone that follows certain methods or certain protocols in order to amplify what we would call like the good data. Yeah.
So you've worked with Dick Algeier. I've had him on my show before, an amazing individual. And he's kind of explained to my audience, it's been a while since I've had him on, but he's kind of explained to my audience how this works. But in case my audience has forgotten, I've definitely forgotten quite a bit of it. Um, can you go through the techniques and ways to do this? And you actually hold classes for people to learn how to do this, correct?
Yeah. There's really there's a bunch of different like schools of thought or methods, that remote viewing can be done. Um, the one that I learned from Dick Algar, he was my teacher, comes out of Hawaii, the Hawaii Remote Viewers Guild, and basically it involves following a certain structure of techniques that occupy your conscious mind. So your conscious thinking mind is laying out the format in a certain way, answering certain questions, and then there's moments where you listen into your intuition and record the answer. Um, we use a technique called Blackboard, which is where you close your eyes, and we've trained our subconscious to put images in a certain spot when we close our eyes. So it's opening a communication path with your subconscious mind and creating like on-demand moments of what people would call like a non-local perception or
So
psychic experience.
the way they use this, do they give symbols or coordinates or something like that for you guys to focus on, and then you meditate on that, and then you come up with what you see and write it down?
Yeah, we work blind, so there's a target ID is what it's called. So it'll be
Target
like
ID.
a randomly generated, AFC2 dash 14. It'll just be something random. And then we don't really sit there and meditate. It's more like a lot of paperwork. It's like, a session might be 15, 20 pages of doing different techniques. The first thing we do is we close our eyes and look for 1.5 seconds for an image. So it'll be like a quick visual flash, and we record that. Then we move on to collecting like sounds, smells, temperatures, taste, textures. So it starts with getting like low level type data, like, oh, I hear the sound. Oh, there's a smell. There's this texture there. And that kind of builds up through the session to the point where you can kind of like have a little daydream where you close your eyes and like experience something at the target for a short moment, and then you can like interrogate it, like what was that, why were they doing this, what was happening, and that's how you collect more information about a person, a place, a thing, an event.
So let's get into some of the things you've targeted, some of the things you've seen. I guess you do this in groups, or is it better one on one, or is it? I mean, or how do you like say, okay, this is the target, this is the consensus on what's going to happen? Does it have to do with more than one individual agreeing and saying, yeah, we all saw the same thing, or can it just be one person?
You could work alone, like well, you have to have someone who like manages the project or sets up the target. So but as a viewer you could work alone, With Future Forecasting Group, I work with like three other guys. So it'll be like Dick Algeier, myself, Daz Smith, Edward Reardon. And so we all work independently. So we don't communicate with each other. We all will get like an email that says, this week's target is ABCD-EFG. And then we all do our own work independently. And then we come on a call in the week and we all present our data. And an analyst will look at all the work and like, compare and say, okay,
Do
there's
what
overlap
matches.
here. Yeah, yeah. Like, oh,
So do
there's
you all just come up
cooperation
with
here or there.
extremely different stuff, and then some things are similar, and that's what you take to create the image?
Sometimes there's really, really close cooperation. Like there's stuff that's exactly the same sometimes.
Wow.
So when there's high cooperation, that's usually a good sign that that might be some really strong, strong data about something that's going to happen or something that happened uh, at an event or with a person.
All
Yeah.
right, let's get into this. I want to get into the targets, things that you've seen, what kind of events can we expect. But first, folks, get your noble gold, folks. When you're distracted by headlines, the insiders are getting ready. Billionaires, big banks, even foreign governments, and are hoarding gold. They know the dollar's being devalued. They know the next crash is coming. So why don't you own what they're buying? Noble Gold Investments makes it simple to protect yourself with the same investment grade gold and silver. The elites are stockpiling real assets you can hold in your hand and keep safe in your safe or even in your account, in your retirement account. Don't wait till it's too late. Visit Noble Gold Investments today, noblegold.com. Folks, I know Colin Plume well. Great company. I work strictly with him. This is the place to go. Noblegoldinvestments.com. Get on it now. Gold and silver are going to spike. All right. Wow. So there's so much to talk about here. I don't even know where to get started. Let's start with what things have you guys seen that have transpired, that have already happened, and then let's work our way from there.
Okay. So like we work a couple different kinds of projects. So we'll do like historical things like past events that people are curious about. Like we looked at Göbekli Tepe, which is out in Turkey. It's like a ruins of standing stones. Um, we looked at the Oracle at Delphi in Greece. Um, Da Vinci, Ark of the Covenant. Like we'll look at mystery, like ancient mystery stuff, and gather some really, compelling data. Uh, because a remote viewer says something doesn't mean it's true, but um, when it's obvious that there's good data, like for example, Gobekli Tepe, we know it's like there's verifiable stuff about it. Like we know it's a ruins, we know there's stones. If a remote viewer is describing the stones, the things are buried there, this and that, and then they go on to maybe describe something that we don't know, something that's unconfirmed. The verifiable part kind of helps, give some insight to at least say, okay, they were on target, like they were onto something. Um, and then when you have like three or four viewers all coming back with very similar data, it makes for a really compelling session. With that one with Gobekli Tepe, we saw a lot of stuff that was like Genesis, biblical type stuff, like creation of a being, creation of
Really?
like a humanoid type.
So like Garden of Eden stuff, like, or like, would you say maybe genetic modification from aliens? Like, what do you what really when you say that? What do you zero
Uh,
in on what it is?
I would say similar to like Garden of Eden type things. Like I was getting biblical type uh, terms like fallen ones and
Wow.
that kind of stuff.
So well,
Um,
hold on. Would you say Adam and Eve or the fallen were struck down and the fallen fell there?
my from my data, I would say that that was a place where the fallen ones, which to
Yeah.
me seems like maybe some kind of giants or something not exactly what we would call human, were doing some kind of experiments, and
Wow. So could it
creating
have been?
creating
So you
things.
saw an impact, or you just saw beings flourishing? Like, what did you see exactly?
I saw a life lying down on kind of like a bed with something, kind of like an operation going on. I saw literally a winged humanoid, like an angel coming, like falling down to Earth. So I mean, it's hard to put that kind of stuff into context, but it kind of ties in with what a lot of researchers are saying about Göbekli Tepe. Like if you read books that guys who go there and look at the stones and research the lore, I mean, they're talking about a lot of the very similar things, like
And
with giants.
Gobekli Tepe is where that's
That's in I think Turkey.
Turkey. So that would line up to
Yeah.
maybe the cradle of civilization, or
Yeah.
the where the
It's in
first
that
human.
yeah, it's in that zone. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
my mind goes to like the pyramids of Giza. Now they've done some, like, they have the technology to look like what's under the pyramids, and now they're seeing another whole structure that goes below the pyramids. Have you remote viewers looked at things like that and figured out what they are?
Yeah, we've done there's been a couple times we looked at the pyramids, about the construction, about what its use case could possibly be. Some of it's actually, there's some things on YouTube that we've posted. Some of that stuff is on YouTube. Some of the data has like stones being kind of like lifted or floated, for lack of a better term. Um, Rituals, chambers, hidden chambers, um, energetic
I just pulled up
phenomenon.
some pictures while you're doing this, because I mean,
Yeah,
all these. Does
a lot
anything
of
kind of line up with what you saw?
um we actually should do a new one about the thing underneath, but we did have a lot of our viewers had chambers underneath, subterranean chambers. um you can see that one on YouTube, I'm pretty sure, if you search like remote viewing the Great Pyramids. There's Daz Smith and Dick Algar put some video out on that one.
Wow. So, we're coming into some pretty critical times on this planet. I just want to, so
There, it's one, two, three. It's like four images across and three down.
down here,
One more down.
down here.
That one right there. Yeah,
Okay.
that's Dick and Daz did a video talking about some of the data that we got with
There's Dick. Yep.
pyramids. Yeah,
Great guy. Great guy.
yeah.
So, so this stuff, I mean, is it hit or miss? I mean, are you guys able to, I mean, you can't really give a timeline, right? You can't really say we see an event happening. Can you tell when if it's past or future, or is it something that you can't really dictate that? So if you see, like, let's say, I've heard Ed Dames talk about. I don't know if you're familiar with Ed Dames, but he talked
Yeah.
about remote viewing some kind of CME, coronal mass ejection by the sun, by the sun. Excuse me, and they don't see civilization um, making it, right? They see civilization collapsing and millions dying and this and that. And I've always
Yeah.
wondered about that, but they say that they believe they saw this big orb in the sky and big explosions, whatever, and they always thought it was a coronal mass ejection. Have you seen anything like that with your students or colleagues?
I haven't seen specifically that, but the approach that we take with at FFG is every month we try and look forward to what's going to happen like the next month or like within 60 days. So we don't really try and go too far out and say, oh, what's this thing that's going to happen far off in the future. We try and see what's coming up right over the horizon, which seems to be a little bit more accurate in terms of latching on to what's going to happen. So we try and target like the major news events coming up in the months, in a few months
Wow.
ahead. And doing that, we've had a lot of really stunning hits. For example, these are ones that I had over the last few years, like the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
She was a Supreme Court justice. We did the next president of the USA in March, and I had Trump. We published that online. You could see videos of that. Um, Elon Musk, future plans, like what's the future plans for Elon Musk? I saw him closely associated with the president, and that was like before he was even
Before
talking or
anybody had any inclination on that.
yeah, yeah. The assassination attempts on Trump.
You saw that.
Yeah, we had that published online before it
You
happened, months
let me
before it
ask you. Let me
happened.
just stop you right there. You saw the two that happened, or did you see many more?
I well, first I saw the Crooks event, the Thomas Crooks one, politician talking to a crowd, gunman elevated on the left side,
Wow.
mid speech. And we published that in, I think, March. And then it happened in July
July.
or June or July. I can't remember.
Right.
Yeah, July. And then there was the Ryan Ruth, the guy who was in the bushes. I drew his face and
Get
said,
out of here.
yeah. And I said, this guy is going to be a would be assassin. He's going to run away. They're going to shut off the area and look, there's going to be a manhunt for this guy essentially. And then that happened the following month. Um, uh, Jordan Neely, Daniel Penny chokehold on Jordan Neely in the subway. I drew
Yeah.
that. I drew that the month before it happened. I said next month someone's going to get strangled from behind, and it's going to be a big news story for whatever reason.
And it
And then
was.
it happened
Absolutely
the
was.
month coming up. So there's certain events that remote viewers can kind of like catch on to. They resonate in consciousness for whatever reason. Those are
Because
some
because
examples.
you're kind of time and space is one, right? You're just kind of it's not linear. You're just already seeing what has already happened.
Yeah, the idea is that in this in the subconscious mind, or however you want to conceptualize it, time isn't linear the way that we experience it. So certain events can be foreseen, they can be seen before we experience them. And I think a lot of people are at least open to that idea because of like dreams. Like a lot of people have had a dream where it's like they saw something and it ended up happening, or they had a really bad feeling about something and then it happened. So remote viewing is just taking that feeling, that that sense that we have, and
Honing
putting it
in
to
on it.
use. Yeah, yeah, honing in
Honing
on
in
it.
on it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what else have you seen? I mean, you saw Trump was going to win. You saw the assassination attempts. Is there anything else that concerns you or warnings you can give my audience?
We had some data, and of course, this is just this is speculative remote
Right,
viewing. I don't
absolutely.
want
We're
to
not
freak
saying you're
anyone out,
predicting
or yeah,
anything. I got you.
yeah. This is just stuff that we've collected. We put it on the record. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we miss. Remote
Right.
view. It's not perfect. It's
Oh,
not
it
100.
doesn't mean it can't happen later.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why we keep it on the record, right?
Okay.
We did have some data that there could be a poisoning event associated with the
Oh
president.
wow, I've heard that
Um,
actually. That
I
could be a
did
very big
see. I
possibility.
mean, I saw uh, a president. I'm assuming it's Trump, but let's just say a president in a backseat of a car with another person sitting beside them, and a death event happening associated with that. Um, I hope not. I hope
Could
that
it
was
have
just
been maybe could it have been a past event like JFK?
well, my intention was to see a future event when I did that. So, my assumption is it may be a future event, but hopefully that doesn't happen.
But
But
would it have been an American president? Would it could be any president?
I think it was, just my personal opinion is I think it was the American president. It could be someone else, but as a remote viewer, it's not some of the things are so brief, you know what I mean? It's not exactly a clear as day movie most of the time. Sometimes it's just like you see a flash of something and you're kind of pulling at strings to try and get some more data about it. Um, I heard like Mr. President, like someone say, Mr. President, and I see someone slumped over in the back seat of a car. So
But so that you would assume that means the president, not the person next to them.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was the
Okay.
president that got hurt. That was my assumption. When I did that session, that hasn't happened yet though. So I mean, let's just hope that that
We
was
hope it does not happen.
yeah, that doesn't happen. Um, looking at we just recently looked at wearable technology. There was RFK Jr. said like he wants all Americans to have some kind of wearable health tech, health
To me, that
tracker.
just sounds like they're getting ready for the chip, but whatever.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
they targeted us on the future of wearable tech, like where is this going down in the next couple of years, and our data was very corroborating between all viewers that it was very much like a mass surveillance system, being able to pick someone out of a crowd and being able to know like, okay, this is their, this is what they do, this is their health status, this is their heart rate, this is real time, like kind of real time tracking of a population.
doesn't the, I mean, if you think about it, the iPhone already kind of does that. I mean, it logs your steps. I mean, who's
Yeah,
to say it's not, it's always on you. I bet it reads your vitals. I mean, dude,
yeah,
right?
I agree with you. I mean, we don't wear it on us, but it's always on us. It's in our
Right.
pocket. It's in our so I think the wearable tech is going to be the next kind of the next step before probably the implants. But one of the main things I got out of it was that it will probably be used in, and this is a throwback to contact tracing, what they would have called contact tracing during COVID.
Right.
So it'll be a lot easier to do that kind of scenario if everyone's wearing a
Mm,
a health tracker. You know what I
got
mean?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd
So,
be a lot easier to do what they call contact tracing.
and
They'll
if
be
you
able to
think
say
about
you
it,
were near
that
this
sounds
person.
like common sense. Like, of course that's coming.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like that never occurred to me just thinking about it, but after doing the session and then seeing the feedback that said, "Hey, what you guys were looking at was health trackers. The future of wearable tech," and I said, "Oh man, contact tracing. That's what I was getting. Like they're able to pinpoint who's near who and who's been in what different place and what their health status are." So that was kind of
Sounds like a nightmare to me. I mean, I
yeah,
understand like getting, your vitals, wanting to know your health, if you're going to get sick or something like that, but then they take it to another whole level. You give them an
yeah,
inch, they take a mile.
yeah. I think there are positive aspects to it, right? Like yeah, tracking your health, tracking your sleep. Uh, some people got their life saved by having the iWatch or Apple Watch or whatever tell them their heart rate is irregular. But there's always more. There's always that other side of it where it's like, yeah, what are they doing with the data? How is it being abused? Which is the scary part. Yeah.
What else have you seen? So have you seen, do you always just do a few months or do you do years? Do you do a decade? I mean, so because that's kind of like, because I've always heard that remote viewing, you're not able to understand when the event's going to come, like a certain day or month. You just, I didn't know. I thought you couldn't decipher if it was the past or the present, but you're saying you can decipher that.
Well, there's different techniques to try and like pinpoint a time, like when it happens. I guess the most reliable way to try and find out something about a future thing is to have the task, like when the task is set up, when the target is set up, have the time frame built into that. So like when we looked at the health trackers, it was a part of the tasking that we're looking out a couple of years. If I was just working on my own and just saying, oh, let me try and see what's going to happen in the future, it might be a little harder to determine, okay, when is this happening? But when we get a tasking, we can look at it and and we can read it after and say, okay, this should happen in between, 2025 and 2030, or whatever the years are laid out. Um, I'd say that at least for me, trying to pinpoint an exact time that something happens is difficult. You know what I mean? So that's why working alone as a remote viewer is a little more challenging. Like if you're working with a group and you have like a project manager, people who set up the task and make good choices on what the viewers are looking at, it greatly, increases the chances of good data and usable information. Yeah.
So like at Dames, I mean, I've heard that this is very much used. Is it used within our three-letter agencies? Our government uses these techniques?
Yeah, remote viewing was developed by with the CIA and in collaboration with the United States military. So they were using it as for psychic spies, essentially. They wanted to look into a base, or find out the status of a hostage, or different scenarios like that. So um, it was used in collaboration with other intelligence faculties. So they wouldn't just like get a remote viewer's data and run out there and do something. They would like cross reference it. They would say, okay, well, our this unit is saying this, and these guys say that, and our remote viewers are saying this, and they would put it together and make decisions that way. So they definitely found it useful. I mean, publicly they stopped using remote viewing, but in my personal opinion, I think they're still using remote viewing in a secret capacity. I mean, why would you ever not use it?
Why did you discard it, right? So I had a
Yeah, yeah.
Stuart Swerdlow on who's uh, great uncle was the first Russian president, and he was taken into, he says, Project Montauk to work in the underground projects, and they were using children for these projects. Now, I have no way to validate that, but do you find in your remote viewing groups that maybe do children do better at this? Is if so, can you tell if someone's more psychic than another person? I mean, how do you know if someone's talented at this or not? And what classifies as someone being talented? Is it and what type of people are the most talented?
I would say children are probably more likely to be good at it, just because they haven't had all the societal training. Like they haven't
Corruption
been
and yeah.
told, yeah, they haven't been told like that's impossible and that's stupid, and don't try
So
and
so they
do.
don't have barriers. They don't have these barriers up. They don't limit
Yeah,
themselves. They just freely children.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're able to treat it like a game and just have fun and see what happens. Whereas an adult, you tell an adult like, hey, I have a photo in this envelope, and I want you to describe it for me. Immediately they're thinking, okay, this is impossible. How can I do this? So I haven't taught that many children, but I know someone who does teach children about intuition and psychic type things. And I mean, they say they see great results in children doing those kinds of activities. Um, when it comes to who would be good at it, people who are able to have like sustain a focused intention, like if someone's like scatterbrain and they can't focus on something for more than 5 minutes, they're
So,
probably not going
so
to be.
someone with ADD is not going to be able to do this too well.
I mean, probably not. I won't say no, but probably not. Like the methods we use are derived from the military, like they're from the military methods. So it is a very structured and rigorous type thing. You know what I mean? It's not exactly just like sit here and it comes to me. It is like
But
do
don't
this,
you
then
kind of
do that.
meditate? So it's like they're commands basically, or do you kind of just meditate and see what comes first? Like how what?
Uh, it starts in an awake and aware state. So at the beginning of a session, it would just be like I am right now. I start doing my paperwork, and then by 30-40 minutes in, then I'm in more of like what we would call alpha brainwave state, which is kind of like a bit of a meditative state, a daydream type state. So you're still awake, you're still conscious. I'm still writing, but I'm engulfed in what's happening. You know what I mean? Like when you read a good book, 20 minutes in, you're not aware of what's around you in your room anymore. You're
Right,
like,
you're just
you're
in
in
it.
the story. Yeah, you're
Correct.
in the story. So once you get into that state of mind, the type of information that you can get, increases, like the experiential nature of it, the visuals, the things you hear, the things increase. And then from there you can go into a what we call ERV, extended remote viewing, where you lie down close your eyes and basically go to sleep for a moment and have an experience. So there's a spectrum of how it goes, from wide awake to asleep. Um, yeah, it's really interesting.
What
And I
about,
mean,
but what about like psychics, man? I mean, like, why aren't, I mean, do you guys converse with psychics? Do you work with psychics on this stuff together? I'm sure, I would imagine the military does. Like, I mean, can that mess up the process? Uh,
the military did have um, like traditional psychics that they did work with. At FFG, we just have remote viewers that uh, use the military derived methodologies. To me, it doesn't matter. However, if you can get good data, you can get good data. To me, it doesn't matter. I don't care how you do it. Um, I guess the idea of it being remote viewing makes it, in my opinion, a little more intellectually honest because I can say I was blind. I didn't know what the target was, right? So you can't come back and tell me like you were saying that just because you wanted to scare people, or you were saying that just because you wanted, you have a bias because you wanted to go this or that
right.
way. It's like I really didn't know what the target was when I was working it. So I'm just relying solely on my intuition. I'm relying on what comes to me. Um, and I guess it's a little more, it's like a science experiment. The remote viewing method is more like a science experiment in that you can repeat it. You have more control over the different variables, whereas a traditional psychic may work with the person right in front of them, or may
Right.
work with the question being asked up front, things like that.
Well, I know there's been psychics out there that have solved crimes for the FBI. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously this stuff works. I've never
Yeah.
heard of one winning the lottery. At least they won't admit it. But
Yeah, actually there's some remote viewers who have won lotteries.
really,
Yeah, there's John Knowles. He's a remote viewer, but he has a book on remote viewing the lottery and
what?
games of chance and stuff like that. So it's not impossible. It's definitely more challenging because numbers, numbers and things like that are a little more like on the logical side of how our brain processes things. So getting numbers is a little more, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's more challenging to get numbers because that kind of like flips you into
Right, and you're just
the
off by
left
one
brain.
digit. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So there's a bunch of different techniques of remote viewing. Like there's something called associative remote viewing, where you, for example, it would be like who's going to win the Super Bowl, let's say, for example. You got one team A and team B. Instead of trying to like directly remote view the score or something like that, you would say, here's a target of a dolphin in the water, and here's a target of the pyramids. If this team wins, the remote viewer will see the dolphin. If this team wins, the remote viewer will see the pyramids. So it's kind of like
Got you.
yeah, it's like a
Got
way
you.
around to try and determine an
Right.
outcome of something.
That makes sense to me. That makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
can you kind of walk us through like an elementary like for myself and my audience, like what does a target practice look like? What is it? How does it work? Like what do they open an envelope? Does everyone get an envelope? They open it. There's a target. Like how does this work?
Back in the day, it would have been, yeah, an envelope, open
Really?
envelope. Now it's just all digital for the most part. You would get like with my students, I'll send them target ID. So I'll say, hey, here's the homework. The target is,
But you know what the target ID is.
yeah, I know what the target ID is. When I'm teaching, yeah, I'll know what the target ID is. I'll send them a target ID and I'll say, here's the target ID, ABCD dash EFG, whatever it is. So they now, without communicating with me, sit down with their paper and they go through, step one, which is like I told you, close their eyes, look for 1.5 seconds, draw whatever shape, form, whatever it is that comes to them. Then they go into collecting low level data. So what do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? What do you taste? What's the temperature? So they'll do that a bunch of times. Um, then they'll try and put all the data that they got onto one page. We call that a sight sketch. So out of all the little things they drew and all the sounds and things they got, they have to try to intuitively put it together, like say, okay, this thing I drew feels like it goes here, and the sound of the voices and the people go over here. And then the last step is try and look at those individual aspects. So it's like, okay, look at the people. You heard voices. You said there was people there. I want you to close your eyes for 12 seconds and try and see what the people are doing and tell me about. I won't be saying this to them. They'll be doing this on their own. Like this is a part of the process. They'll try and look and see what the people are doing. If there was a structure, look at the structure, describe it, look at the land. And then they would send that into me. I would review it, and then I would send them the feedback and say, okay,
Hmm.
here's the actual photo, and here's what you were supposed to be viewing. Yeah.
And then if it adds up, you document that and put it out there on record.
For my students, it's just for their practice, right?
Got you.
So they can get on track. But the same process for when we work with FFG, it's the same thing. We all go on our own. We all get an email saying, here's your target. We work the target, we send it in. Except for us, we got to come on a video and say,
Right.
describe it
Right.
all, and then they show us what the target was. Yeah.
So, like, obviously it's a pretty big event that you saw where like the Trump has been, there's three assassinations on him, correct? That you saw.
The two, yeah,
The two,
the
but then
Crooks
there's
and the
also
Ryan Ruth.
right,
Oh well, the third one, we don't know if that
but you don't
is.
know, but you did know the other two were him or you didn't
That was my
beforehand.
assumption.
Okay.
My assumption is that it's him. We're not really supposed to go out and say, "Oh, it's this guy."
Right. Right.
But that was my assumption,
But
and
what's
it
your
happened.
assumption saying on this third one here?
Yeah, that is my assumption.
That it's
But
him.
I'm willing to be wrong.
Right.
I'm
And
totally
we're not,
willing
and
to be wrong.
100% I agree with you. I'm not putting that on you at all. But I'm saying that your assumption is it's him again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's a pretty big event. Okay. But and we'll just put that to the side for a
Yeah.
second. Is there anything else that you see coming in the next few months in fall, or do you see? Did you target any kind of arrests or um, fall of certain individuals or a black swan event to the economy or some kind of natural disaster, anything like that?
We've done a couple ones on upcoming financial turmoils. We did one on civil war, if there will be a civil war in America. I think that one's on YouTube, and we did our results was more on the positive side, saying that there would be something akin to a civil war. Um,
Wow. Did it look pretty extreme, or did it look like civil unrest, or did it look like an all-out civil war? Are you able to?
that one was we kind of did like a little bit like that ARV thing that I was telling you for that one. So we didn't look at the event directly, but we used remote viewing to try to determine the outcome of like if it would happen or not, and our results were leaning on the yes, it would happen side.
Wow.
Um, we looked at that comet thing that
Oh,
is
the
run
three eye
far away.
atlas.
Yeah, we just looked at that the other day, the Atlas thing, and I mean,
But
I'm
you all
not.
didn't know you were looking at it. You were looking
Oh
at the
yeah, we didn't
target.
know. We were completely blind. We didn't know what it was. Um, yeah, I'm not really into the UFO stuff, and I'm not deep into that. But a lot of our data was leaning onto the something strange. I mean, our data wasn't exactly just a rock in space. Like we were getting a lot of stuff that was more on the woo woo side. So,
Did you say what
uh,
it was?
I mean, I had literally had saw a UFO. I mean, I saw that at one point in my session. Um, so yeah,
I mean, did you
it is
see
what it is. Yeah,
beings inside of it? Was it? Would you
I
see
saw
like
a
a?
being too. Yeah, I saw something like a strange robotic type uh, being. But I mean,
So not a biological entity. It was more of a robotic, like an android type thing.
that's what I saw. But the thing is, with the more unverifiable types of targets like that, I mean, it's hard to say if it was any good, right? I
Right.
can't say with full confidence, like, oh yeah, I'm 100% behind that. It's kind of just like, hey, that's what that's what I got. We'll see what comes of it. I
What did
guess there's
other
a lot
people
of
what did other people see? Did they all see the same type of thing?
yeah, we all had like what would the word be? Paranormal type data, you know, energetic stuff, spiritual type stuff. Definitely not what I would expect for if it was just a comment. You know what I mean? If it was just a comment. So that's a strange one, and I know there's some reports of scientists or researchers saying that it's weird, like it's moving at a fast speed, it's exhibiting some kind of things that aren't exactly normal to a comet.
It's
Uh,
intelligent, is what they're saying, and then there's Chilean scientists deciphering code from it, saying that we are arriving, something like that. People could say that's woo woo, whatever, but it's definitely making the headlines right now. So to me, I think there could be something there. It could be nothing, right? It could just fly
yeah.
by a comet. But do you see contact or anything like that?
I mean, I had something coming down to the surface in my session, so yeah, I'm not like I said, I'm not. I don't like to because the thing is like someone will say, remote viewer will say something and people run with it and they go crazy with it. Um, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of myself, especially when it's like a target like that. We'll just say it was data that was unexpected for an if it was a natural phenomenon. If it was just a comet, I'd say our data was very out of the norm for that across all viewers for that kind of target.
Do you see humanity moving forward? Do you see a big shift? Did you, with that Three Eye Atlas comet or whatever you want to call it, spaceship, whatever? Do you see, a jump in evolution for humanity? Was it like that, or did you see like an obstruction for humanity, a kind of like an entrapment for humanity? Like, what do you see? Like, w- could you say? Could you go any further than
My
that, or you just
uh my takeaway at the very end, like I was trying to suss out like what does it mean, and I kept getting like an omen, a warning of things to come, like negative
oh
things to
boy,
come. So and that was kind of interesting because I know like historically comets and things in the sky were seen like to ancients as like a sign or an omen, like oh this thing happened, we know that something bad's going to happen. So that kind of was an interesting tie-in. That was my sense of it by the end of it, that this was like a forewarning of something bad to come.
with all the stuff that's transpiring right now, do you see some big events to help? Is it going to help push humanity forward? Or do you see us? Because like this comet kind of seems to me like, if this is a deep state manufactured event or an alien card they're pulling out, completely manufactured. Because I've been told that this is coming. Do you see it as that? Do you see it as being engineered, or do you see it as natural?
um Outside of remote viewing, like aside
Right.
from what I had in my session, to me I just think it's kind of silly. I mean, to me, I mean, I'm not taking it away from anyone else. I just
But
when I
that's
see
how
those
you
kind
see
of
the
things,
whole event. They're just kind of silly. No one's going to take it serious.
I mean, I don't really take it that serious. I know some people are very much looking at this and hooked on it. I just my interest in space stuff is just not that deep. So when I see like that they're looking at a comet or something, I to me I'm just like, okay, that's kind of interesting. We'll see what happens. But I know a lot of people are saying Project Bluebeam,
That's what
things
everyone's
along that
saying, man.
line.
Yeah.
The Werner von Braun, his warning about the fake alien invasion. I know a lot of people are talking about that. I'm very neutral, so I don't like to jump to any conclusions on what it might be. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting different lines of thought around that.
I
Yeah.
mean, things are cyclical on this planet. Could it be, what the Hopis talked about, the blue star? There's so many things that come to my mind, and there's been so many comets that have come and gone. You got all the people that drink the Kool-Aid and the Heaven's Gate. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
much with these things. I mean, there's no real way to tell, in my opinion, until it happens. But I was just trying to get like reading from you. So there's really nothing that's concerning you with the remote viewing that you've done so far, correct? That's for humanity.
Um, I mean, I've seen concerning things, but I think that we have the ability to change. You know, we have the ability to maneuver and I don't take what I get in remote viewing as the concrete 100% going to happen, a truth. You know what I mean? It could happen. Things that we've seen have happened. So I don't discount it completely, but I try not to let it weigh me down. You know what I mean? I try not to say, okay, it's over. Like it's going to happen like this. Um, I have a positive outlook overall, even with all the things that we've gotten into.
Do you think that, when you put this out there into the quantum field and we just even talk about it, that we can change the direction? Like even us talking about it right now changes
I
everything?
think so. Yeah, I think so because I think the idea of someone getting information from the future and disseminating it in the now, I think by default
Right.
would have to change what happens in the future. I guess maybe there's Lynn Buchanan. He was a military remote viewer. He has this thing on his website where he talks about future events and why some happen and some don't, and how they affect the present. And I think there's just some events that do happen. Like some events are going to happen. You can't change them. Whereas other ones are transient. Like they may happen, they may not happen, depending on how the probabilities, the direction of how things go. Whereas certain ones are like they're like a rock in the river. Like
Right. They're
they're not
concrete, they're
moving.
not
You're gonna
moving.
bump up against them. Yeah, you're gonna have to go around them. Um, so yeah, I try not to. And the Heaven's Gate thing, I mean, that was related to remote viewing. There were
Yeah.
remote viewers
Yeah.
that said
Right.
that's a craft. So that's why I say I'm you know I'm trying to be easy with the comet thing. You know what I mean? It's like it's just a remote viewing experiment. Interesting stuff.
What is
Don't base your life on it.
what do you
Yeah.
have to say to people? Like I have a pretty big Christian audience. What do you have to say to people that they say stuff like this is new agey, it's they're channeling familiar spirits, this is all demonic. What do you have to say to those people?
I mean, I guess I understand their point of view. Things we don't understand are can be scary and cause us to come up with different ways to explain it. But I've never channeled an entity. I've never done spirit communication. I'm not into any of that kind of stuff. Really, remote viewing is just the same thing that is like, oh, I have a bad feeling about something, or I had a dream, and it's like some people might say that was God that gave them a vision to,
Right.
to see what was coming. So the way we interpret it, the way people interpret it is always different. Um, to me, it's a natural communication skill that I'm using. I'm not communicating with any entity. I'm not anything I say, I'll take full credibility for and say it was me who said it, and I'm willing to be wrong. I'm not saying I'm 100% right all the time. No remote viewer is 100% right. We're not omniscient or anything like that. It's similar to like a sports player, right? Sometimes
Right.
you go up, you hit a home run, sometimes you strike out. That's how the same thing with remote viewing. Yeah, you could have a great moment, you could have great moments and see some things really clearly. Sometimes it's vague, sometimes it's
So it's
we don't
almost
know.
it's almost like roulette.
I'd say it's better chances than roulette. Like I'm very confident. Like if you give me some targets, like I'm gonna
Right.
hit most. You
Right.
know what I mean? But when it comes to the future, I'd say it gets more dicey. When you're trying to remote view the future, it's the future. We don't. There's so many variables. It's more experimental, I'd say, when we're looking into the future, which is it's kind of exciting to me
Yeah,
with
do you
what.
think that maybe psychedelics could help or hinder this process? Have you guys experimented with that? I mean,
Um,
I've always been
there's
curious about that.
there's a book and a documentary called The Sacred Mushroom that talks about a certain type of mushroom that enhances ESP, or extrasensory perception. Uh, I've never done remote viewing on shrooms, right? I've never done it like that. I've done shrooms, I've done stuff like that,
I mean,
but
that might be
never
a
like
study worth looking into. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, people are open to experiment. I think personally, I think that remote viewing is probably best done. You got to be sharp. Like you have to be sharp. You have to be able to catch things that are just below the surface of your
So,
awareness.
you,
And
so
if you're,
you really don't think you could be in an altered state of mind?
you're in a subtle altered state of mind when you do remote viewing. Like like the daydream. You're in a slightly meditative state. I don't think you want to be high, completely high or
Right.
completely transed out or anything like that. It's like it's a very, it's like a tight balance that you're walking when you do remote viewing. Um, that's just my personal opinion on it. Yeah, I think you got to be sharp, you got to be attentive, you got to be able to catch things that most people would say, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything. I didn't feel anything. The remote viewer has to be sensitive enough to pick up on that stuff. Yeah.
You find that men or women are better at this, or does it not matter in gender?
Well, most of the remote viewers I know are men, but there are women who do remote viewing, and I mean, from what I've read, apparently women are more likely to be good at it. I mean, I've
That
taught
that's kind of where
a
my
lot of
instinct
women.
goes with that. I would imagine
Yeah.
they are.
I've had women students that have done really amazing work right from the get-go, like right from the beginning. They just have, really, really good results. Um, it all comes down, like for me, I would never consider myself a psychic or anything like that. So I just started practicing this stuff because I read about it. I read about it. I said, is that real? Like what, the government's got guys psychic spying or something? Like I imagine, how would that be? Like, how does that work? And I read the manual. It's like, what, these guys are sitting at a desk doing paperwork? That's how they do it. So I said, okay, let me
Wow.
let me see how this works and let me try this. And when I tried it, after a short while, I realized like, okay, there's something to this. Like I could see in my own work, like there's no way I could have drawn
Right.
that or could have known this. So from there, I just started
So,
practicing and doing it on my own. Yeah.
and you teach people now on your website, or what is it's Future Forecasting Network, right? So,
It's we just have a new website now. It's ffgrv.com. Yeah, ffgrv.com. But yeah, that's the future forecasting group. And yeah, I teach people now remote viewing, how to remote view.
do they
And it
just
takes
sign
a
up for your
long
classes, or like you do like a Zoom with them and you all do the targets right there, or what?
Yeah, we do it's a 10-week course and there's 6 classes and we do them over Zoom. So I'll teach them a section. I'll give them the homework. They During the time in between the next class, they do the sessions. They send them to me. I tell them, I give them guidance. I say, okay, here's where you can do this, do that, and then by the end of it, um, they usually end up having some really, undeniable experiences. A lot of them, see like, okay, this thing works. Like I saw this, I drew this, I knew this about something, and that was by all means impossible by what they what should be possible. um so it's definitely something anyone can do. I really think it is something that anyone can do. It just depends on how much how much time and effort
How much
you're
time you
willing to
want to
put
put
into
into it,
it.
like
Yeah,
anything else?
just like anything else. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, man, Naeem, I appreciate you coming on. Folks, it's ffgrv.com. I'll put a link down there below for you, and hopefully you get some students, man. This is pretty awesome. I'm compelled, so I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued, and I might be compelled to even join. So I've always
Yeah,
been
we
curious about this stuff, man.
we do like we do the mystery stuff, we do the historical stuff, we do the future stuff. We also look at financial stuff, right? Gold, silver, cryptos. So we do a whole bunch of different things to try and give our subscribers, as much information as possible so that they can make the right decisions. Yeah.
Well, folks, get on it. Naeem Vendreas, right? That's how I said it. I said it right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Butcher everyone's last name, man. I appreciate you coming on, Naeem. Folks, get over there. FFGRV.com, folks. FFGRV.com. Naeem, thank you so much for joining me. God bless you.
Thanks for having me on.